What's up, folks? Obviously, we back in the shop, my favorite place to be. And just tinkering with some stuff, getting some rods together. Actually gonna film a creek video for you guys tomorrow. The creek has been phenomenal. We have not had rain here in about a month. The water's at an all-time low, which makes the creek so good. So we're gonna jump out there tomorrow and actually film it. I'm gonna have Colin walk along with us the whole way. It should be a banger. It really should. That's gonna be coming shortly. But today, like I said, I'm out here tinkering with some rods, playing in my boat, getting some stuff kind of organized. You can see I got my wrap off my boat. What y'all think? She clean, man. This is what I love about having a wrap. It's just like it's a brand new boat again. Boom, ready to sail, obviously. So I'll be getting all my stuff out of this boat and transitioning into my new boat here shortly. But I'm not gonna dive too much into all of this stuff. This video we're shooting right now is gonna be an in-depth dive into our schedule next season. The 2026 Bass Pro Tour season. What my thoughts are, we're gonna break it down per lake, per tournament, per everything. So y'all stick along with us. It's gonna be a fun time. I'm gonna sit down in my Yeti chair and just chill and break it down for y'all. All right, folks, kicking the season off early this year, Lake Guntersville, January 15th through the 18th is kind of crazy to me. And I'm gonna tell you why. So we've never really started in this region of the country this time of year, January early like this. I think I fished one time back when we were fishing on the Elites. We started at Cherokee Lake in February and it snowed on us that week, if I recall right. So January 15th in Alabama, northern Alabama. Alabama's not known for snow. Alabama's really not known for cold weather. But when you get to northern Alabama, when you get above Birmingham, it gets to be a little sketch. So this is a very interesting tournament for many different reasons. But the most, the biggest factor being the weather. We just don't know what the weather's going to do come January here in northern Alabama. You just do not know. There's a possibility. I'm just going to put this out there. There's a possibility that there will be iced over pockets and bays and, backs at creeks and things like that completely locked up. You can't even fish them. There's a chance of that, like for real. So that's going to be a huge player as far as that goes. And then fishing just stands a chance to be a little brutal. Guides icing up. Just making it hard. Big, bulky clothes. We got gloves on. It's just going to be hard to move around and fish how you want to, potentially. Or it is Alabama. This is the other side of the coin. It could be 75 and sunny, super nice. So we just don't know what we're going to get, man. That's going to be a very interesting one. Probably, it's from a weather perspective, that's going to be the most interesting tournament, I'll say, of the season. But I'm looking forward to Guntersville. Obviously, it's one of the best lakes in the state of Alabama, probably the best lake, and one of the better lakes in the country. It's been putting them out. The grass has been growing really good for the last several years, and that is just the key to that fishery continuing to put out, man. So 2.5 hours before facing sonar on Gville, 5 hours without. We're going to see how it shakes out. I really like this format, this new format that we have. I'm looking forward to it. I think my old rattle trap box is gonna finally come out and make a debut once again in Lake Guntersville. The hammer trap too. So I think that's gonna be really cool. But that's what I'm looking forward to. Not far travel, 3.5 hours from the house, close to home, but it stands a chance of being frosty. So I am looking forward to it though. A lot of big fish should be caught. It's gonna be interesting. So when it comes to Lake Guntersville, that time of year, wintertime, I fish here locally on the Coosa River quite a bit, Lake Martin, these local lakes. And I love the wintertime because there's not a lot of people out. Got the lake to yourself. You kind of get to do what you want to do. In my opinion, this is going to be a scope-heavy tournament, meaning that 2.5 hours that you decide to scope, whether it's first, second, or third period, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to catch the bulk of your weight during that time, in my opinion, to be competitive. That's just what it's going to be. And you're going to have to catch you a couple big ones. to put yourself in that top 25. Because I think without scope, you looking at 3 to 5 bites a period, probably, if you land them. With scope, 10 plus. You know what I mean? But we're talking about Guntersville, so these are very quality fish. Average bite's probably going to be a 2.5 pounder, average bite with the 5, 6, 7, 8 pounder potential in that. But I think you're going to see the majority of the field scoping that first period. Something about these lakes and low light conditions and the fish being much more aggressive and apt to bite in the mornings. If you look back on Lake Conroe, where we started last year, you'll notice almost everybody, with the exception of, I think Spencer Sheffield was one who scoped third period, who did very well in doing so, but he was one of the only guys that caught him like that. And Alton Jones Jr. Yeah, those are two guys that I know did very well with that strategy. But the majority of the field, myself included, and of course the winner, Justin Cooper, first period guys, they just seem to bite better, way more apt to bite in the mornings. It's not that you're not seeing them midday or later in the day, you are, but they just much more apt to bite, it seems, in the morning. So I think you'll see the majority of the field, once again, scoping in that first period and then grinding the rest of the day, which is crazy because the chatterbait or rattle trap or crankbait bite is probably best in the morning as well. So there'll be some strategy. You'll have some guys mix it up, but I think the majority. So if we got 51 boats, I'd say 37 of them will scope first period. Maybe more. Good old Lake Hartwell, February 19th through the 22nd. Old Hartwell, man, that's a lake. I like Hartwell. Been there many, many times. Lots and lots of tournaments on Lake Hartwell in recent years, man. That place gets hit quite hard. A lot of strategies going to play in this tournament. Massive fishery in terms of fishing big, right? 3 different rivers coming in that are pretty big arms. Big main lake. The lower end toward the dam. The upper end towards Takeoff, Green Pond area. I mean, a lot going on Hartwell. Spotted bass, largemouth, both. Clear water, stained water if you choose to fish that. There's just a lot going on. Lots you can do there. With that being said, I think those are probably some of the most pressured fish in the country and are gonna be quite challenging to make bite in terms of scoping. Now, they're gonna get scoped and they're gonna get caught scoped. You better know it. But I could totally see somebody getting frustrated because they've thrown at 50 of them and they've gotten, 3 of them to bite, maybe 4. And we're not talking about landed, we're talking about just biting. So there's definitely going to be some strategy there. Now, that time of year is probably the best time of year to be on Lake Hartwell because it's a time of year where you can just go skip a boat dock and catch one. You can go fish a rock transition bank with a crankbait and catch you one. You can just fish, generally speaking, and catch you one. Skip a jig on the side of a dock, throw a crankbait, down a clay bank. So many different ways. A jerk bait just on a long extended point, no scope, just throw him out there, bop, 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 lock up. You can catch them like that, Lake Hartwell. That's going to be a very interesting tournament, man. It really is. And I can't put my finger on what's going to dominate, but I do believe, very similar to Guntersville, it's going to be a tournament that you're going to have to excel in your scope period. You're going to have to make that count. And if you don't, you're going to find yourself in a tough spot playing catch up for the rest of the day, unfortunately. I hate to say it like that. It's just, you could catch more in one period if you get on them and they're biting, scoping, than you can in 2 periods grinding. That's just a reality. So if you don't catch them scoping, you behind the 8 ball big time. And now you hoping for a big bite to try to make up some poundage. You're trying all sorts of things, and now wheels are spinning and you ain't really fishing the way you want to fish. So it's going to be a very interesting tournament. Tons of history there on Lake Hartwell. A lot of research that can be done there, and there'll be a lot of fish catches nonetheless, though. Stage 3, Texas. Lake Whitney, then Lake Waco, March 5th through the 8th. All right. This is going to be a very cool tournament because this is a new lake. These are new lakes, 2 new lakes. I love fishing new places, man. You guys hear me talk about that all the time. I wish the leagues went to new places more often. I feel like Major League Fishing has done a very good job in doing so. They've introduced us to a lot of new fisheries over the course of the 6 years we've been fishing. And I wish they would do more of that. I mean, I'd like to see a whole schedule of just new places. I think it'd be really cool. But that's going to be a cool tournament. Not a lot of history there for any of the anglers with the exception of probably AJ. AJ lives right there near Waco. So he's going to be the fan favorite for that event, I assume. But I just like going to new places. So that's a place where, I don't know what the dynamic is as far as the type of bass, largemouth, smallmouth spots. I don't know. Lake Waco, I've been there one time for a cup event. They have largemouth and spots. Those 2 for sure. I know that. But Lake Whitney, I know nothing about. So I'm going to have to get on my grind, do some research, maybe take a trip down to Texas and do a little pre-scouting and see what we can figure out. But it's still early enough in the season, right? March, pre-spawn. Anytime we talking pre-spawn, in my mind, if there's any form of clarity, water clarity on the lake, which I'm sure there is, we're talking scope-heavy events. So we've already covered Gville, we talked about Hartwell, and now we're here at Lake Whitney and Lake Waco, and then we're in that pre-spawn stage in all 3 events. And these are scope-heavy events. You just can't get around that. So without even seeing these lakes, one thing I'm going to be pretty confident in, and I'll be working really hard and looking for, is the offshore roamer bite. That is the deal. That is how you catch several bass in one period and find yourself in the top 10 at the end of period 1. You got to get on those roamers, man. So I would assume the tried and true minnow shaking, jerk bait, sort of a deal. Swim bait is going to be what dominates early. And then I don't know what that lake sets up like, but you're going to have to go from there. But I'm definitely saying you're going to have to be very proficient with your scope period. Again, likely a morning deal. In all 3 of these, likely morning scope periods for the majority of the guys, just because the attitudes of the fish just seem to be a little bit better early in the morning before that sun gets super high. They get real weird when that sun gets up, man. It's like they can either see the bait too well, they're just not in a... I personally feel like the lower the light, they're in a much more aggressive feeding mood, right? And you see that throughout the summer months. Topwater bites fire first hour, then it wanes off. You still can catch them all through the course of the day, but you didn't, you had 10 bites before 8 a.m., and now here it is 10 to 1, and you've had 2 bites. That sort of a deal. I feel like it's very similar with what we see with these pre-spawn fish in the early spring like that. They feed really good early in the morning, probably late in the evenings too, right before it gets dark. And then midday it's just kind of like, there's a minnow, maybe. And, they come up and grab it, not nearly aggressive. But that's just my personal opinion. But nevertheless, that's what's going to be the juice. All right, stage 4, OH Ivy. And another 2-parter, Lake Brownwood. So again, this is something I love. These are 2 lakes I never even been to. Of course, the world knows of OH Ivy. It's been putting out giants for the last 7 years, and probably before that, before it got put on the map, right? But there hasn't been a major national event there. I love this because not a lot of people have knowledge on OH Ivy. Some do. There was a cup or a team series there last year in the fall, but not in the spring. So here we go, late March. This stands the chance of being a straight slugfest, straight hammer, spawn.
The MLF weight, like the big fish could be broke here.
It could. It could. Yeah, Randy Howell had a 12-14. It could be beat at OH Ivy. This is the place to do it. Now, we're getting later into March, and now we're talking kind of more or less West Texas. I'm not 100% sure of the weather and the climate and the trends there, but I'm thinking it's going to be on a nice little warming trend, and you might see some sliding. They got them skates on. They might start sliding shallow. Some of these big females to get up there and spawn. But I'm going to put my money on that box. I got to do it. Even though it's late March, they should be getting up there to spawn. I still feel like the majority of the bass caught will be pre-spawn bass, and that it will once again be scope heavy for that first period. But you'll see some freaking giants caught. But I think it will be enough male bass up trying to get to where they want to be to spawn that you'll have guys just pitching drop shots and wacky worms and, you know, throwing spinner baits and chatter baits and things of that sort, swim jigs up shallow, and they'll be able to catch enough to where it won't be a 3 to 5 bite non-scope period. I'm thinking that's going to be more of the 7 to 12 bites per period for the guys that are in the right zones. Because when the male bass get up there and they decide they're going to make a nest wherever, I mean, they're very aggressive. They're protecting. They're going to bite. And here you come slinging a Cinco or something like that. I mean, you're going to catch them. So I foresee that being a very high weight tournament and also some really big fish. And like you said, Colin, I mean, the potential to break the record is certainly there. I mean, we haven't been to many places that even have a chance. I mean, even have a chance. Toledo Bend was one. Whenever we've been to Rayburn, of course, that was Randy caught that fish after that. But we haven't even really been anywhere that even has that kind of potential. But now, OH Ivy has that. And then Brownwood, I know nothing about, but I'm assuming it's in that region. Got to be gas. But that's something I'm going to have to put my research cap on and dig into that as well. But again, it's exciting to go to some new places. 2 new lakes, never been to. Waco and Whitney, 2 new lakes I've never been to. I love that. I'm on board with that. Give us more of that MLF. Colin just brought up a sensitive subject. Of course, I didn't make heavy hitters for next year. Y'all was very close. If y'all want to go back to when I had them New Balances on at Kentucky Lake, y'all remember that? Yeah, that's what cost me. Yeah, when I lost that freaking giant flipping. Yeah, that one. That's why I didn't make heavy hitters. But you're going to have to walk away from OH Ivy. That's your opportunity. If you didn't catch a biggin at Gville, if you didn't catch a biggin a biggin at Hartwell is like a 5-pounder. But Whitney and Waco, I don't know what the potential of those places are. They are Texas, so probably some giants. But your chance to make some hay is OH Ivy for sure. You looking for that 10 younder, 12, 13, share lunker, wall hanger younder fish? OH Ivy got it. Now, whether you catch him or not, that's on you. But she got it. So you definitely need to lead there, I say, with a 6+. I'm thinking. If you want to stay yourself in the game, have a chance to make heavy hitters for 2027, you need to walk away from Gville. You need to walk away with probably at least a 5-pounder. Hartwell, a 3.5-pounder, you will be okay. Waco is the X factor. We don't know. But OH Ivy, you gotta slide up out of there with at least a 6+. All right, Table Rock, folks. Red Crest, our championship, April 16th through the 19th, 2026. Very, 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 very interesting tournament. Very, 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 very. Table Rock is a phenomenal lake, full of bass. Lots and lots of numbers of bass. Not a lot of big bass. Got some good quality in there, though. I'd say it's 2.5 to 4 pounders. It's for sure got them, definitely. We have not got the details, the SOE, on that event. Basically, all the details of the event, like what the minimums are. I feel as though that tournament cannot be a 1.5 pound minimum. It just can't. 1, it's our championship. And 2, it's Table Rock, and it's full of Kentuckies, they call them, spotted bass. And it has some really good sized Kentuckies. I mean, they're short, they're fat. You know, it'll be a 14-inch Kentucky. He's a pound and a half because he's not thin. He built like this. So a guy could potentially just sit there and zip them with a netted rig or a drop shot or something like that. And that's not entertaining for me as an angler, nor as you as a viewer. Nobody wants to see that. If we raise the bar to a 2-pound minimum, you're gonna force guys to have to catch these better quality largemouth. All of a sudden now the strategies change. Guys are using different baits, they're fishing different. They're looking for a bigger bite, right? You have to. So I'm thinking red crest has to be a 2-pound minimum, but I don't know. Lord forbid they make it a 1/8 though. But I just, it's hard to say. Mid-April, there is still gonna be pre-spawn. There'll be some on beds, but I think the bulk of them will probably still be pre-spawn. Maybe. I ain't 100% sure. Smallmouth, spotted bass, and largemouth on this fishery. All of them thrive on that fishery. You don't know what you're kind of gonna run into, but that's gonna be a really, again, that's gonna be a high weight tournament in my mind. It's a tournament where you're gonna have to really catch them. And it has the potential of being scope heavy. Table Rock's a very clear lake, lots of bait offshore. Obviously the fish get out and they roam with the bait. You're gonna have to maximize that 2.5 hours. Now that's a place where the non-scope periods is very important. You're gonna have to catch them. When you got cut that box off, guess what? You still gotta smash them because that place got so many bass in it that guys are gonna be catching them still. Boom, 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 boom. You're gonna have to catch them. That's just, it just is what it is. So looking forward to that one. Excited about that one actually, because it's unique. We haven't been to that region of the country that time of year. Or have we? No, we fished Table Rock close to that time of year, and they were spawning. I think Aaron Martin's won that event. Shout out AA Ron. Rest in peace, brother. Always thinking about you. But yeah, so that was, and that was one offshore drop shot. And so, I mean, you know, it's just a lot going on, a lot of factors. It's going to be an interesting tournament, man. I don't have any favorites, any picks, who's going to excel. It's going to be one where if you want to be fishing championship day, you're going to have to catch them. Oh, leave it to Beeve. April 30th through May 3rd. Oh, leave it to Beeve, man. I used to hate Beaver Lake. I'm going to go and say it. Man, when I fished, you know, y'all know I got my start 2014 FLW tour. And at the time, Walmart was a big sponsor for FLW. And they went to Beaver Lake every single year. You could mark it on your calendar. You could count on it. You could get a tattoo on your arm that said Beaver Lake. And it was always like in March. Didn't matter. Beaver Lake in March. Write it down, take a picture. It's happening. And so I used to hate it, bro, because Beaver Lake was a very, you know, this is way pre-scope as we know it. Beaver Lake, you kind of had to make a choice. You was either a clear water guy or you tried to grind it out in the river in some staying water and fish, in my case, my strengths, right? And it seemed like it was never the right decision. I'd have a fire practice in the river and then go back in the tournament, couldn't catch crap. I'd have a fire practice in the clear water, run back up there and couldn't catch crap. Now, one year I did really good at Beaver, and guess what I did? I fished half the day in the clear and half the day in the river. And that's how I ended up doing well. But before that event, the 2 times prior to that, boy, it kicked my butt. I want to say I finished damn near like in the hundreds. It was bad. But that's a really cool event. Haven't been to Beaver Lake since 2016, and I'm excited to go back. Not a new lake, but it's not a, I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's not a Hartwell. It's not a Grand Lake of the Cherokees. You get what I'm saying? It's not a lake that both tours are just constantly, if it ain't y'all this year, it's us that year. It ain't one, it's not a Gunnersville. It's not one of those lakes. Heck, the last tournament, big tournament that was there was probably the FLW Tour in 2016. So very happy to get back over to Beaver Lake. I think that's going to be cool. Another fishery that has all 3 species, largemouth, smallmouth, and spotted bass. And they also have, you hear people refer to them as meemouth, a cross between a smallmouth and a spotted bass. Really cool looking fish, and they get big on beaver. Like I've seen some 3 to 4 pounders meemouths on Beaver Lake. So that's really cool. I hope I catch a couple of them. But very cool lake. Like I said, two different dynamics. You got the lower end of the lake, very clear, a lot of smallmouth, a lot of spotted bass, and there's a lot of largemouth down there too. But that seems to be more dominant on the smallmouth and spots. Then you get into the river section and obviously some stained water and that sort of a deal. And that seems just to be more, you're more apt to catch the largemouth in that scenario. So that's going to be an interesting tournament. And that's in April. They should be spawning. They should be. There's not, there's no telling, but they should be spawning, man. And there will be a lot of fish caught at Beaver Lake, in my opinion. And it will be potentially a high weight event. Not exactly sure how I'm going to fish that event, but it's going to be fun nevertheless, man. Excuse me. That's one I'm looking forward to getting back to. Haven't been there in years. It's going to feel like a brand new lake because I'm going to have to run all around that whole sucker and kind of figure out what it is exactly I want to do. But it's going to be a good time. I just got done talking about Old Grand Lake. June 18th through 21st next year. Grand Lake of the Cherokees. I got the utmost love for Grand Lake. Y'all that know me and know my story and know my career, that is where I got my start. I won the TBF National Championship there in 2013 of April. And so I'll forever love Grand Lake. Now, with that being said, Grand Lake is one of them lakes that we fish too much. And when I say we, the tournament organizations, Bassmasters, Major League Fishing, we beat the brakes off Grand Lake. Tons and tons and tons and tons of information on Grand Lake. You can go research 1,000 tournaments on Grand Lake. It's hard for me to get super excited like, oh, I can't wait to go to Grand Lake. Grand Lake's a great lake. It is. It's an awesome lake, but it gets overfished. Too much pressure. Hartwell's another one. I said that earlier. These are lakes that just get the brakes beat off of them, and I get it. It's business on the league side. They're going to go to the places that pay them. It is what it is. But as an angler, these new lakes, man, that's the jam. And by us going to a 51-man field, I feel as though, it's just my personal opinion. Of course, I'm not the person behind the scene making these deals with the Chamber of Commerce and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know anything about that. As an angler, take me to them smaller lakes that are fire that no one else could ever go because the lake's way too small. There's 51 of us. Take us there. I mean, that's just my thought process on that. I feel like that'll showcase some really cool fisheries around the country. That'll allow us to go to some really unique places, little nooks and cranny corners of the country. And at the end of the day, super entertaining for the viewer of the sport. Again, my 2 cents outside my pay grade, but I'm going to throw my 2 cents in still because this is my channel. You know what I'm saying? But Grand Lake of the Cherokee, that's going to be an interesting tournament. Predominantly largemouth. They do have some really nice spotted bass in that lake as well. June, that's going to be tricky, man. With the exception of like a flood, which would be awesome because then it would be a ton of flipping in the willow trees, et cetera, et cetera. With the exception of that is going to be an offshore dominated event that will likely be scope heavy. Likely. Not 100%, but likely. Brush piles, just offshore road beds, hard spots, the same old, kind of almost your Tennessee River style fishing. Maybe not quite, maybe a little different. And then you'll have a few guys go against the grain and try to get it done shallow and, that sort of a thing. But if the lake rises, occasionally they get some weather, that part of the country, that time of year, if that lake rises, it could be insane flipping. So that would be awesome to watch if that were to happen. But Grand Lake of the Cherokees is going to be, I don't think that's going to be a high weight tournament personally, but it could be. I don't think so. I think guys will smash them during the scopes period per usual, and then it will slow down after that because guys will be grinding it out, fishing bow docks and, trying to triangulate brush piles the old-fashioned way and, cranking and things like that. But they can still find schools offshore, so it might get a little crazy. But I foresee that being more of a moderate fish catching event, not going crazy. Lake Erie out of Sandusky, Ohio, August 6th through the 8th. August 6th through the 9th. That's going to be cool. That's going to be a cool event. That's going to be very similar to what we had this year with Saginaw Bay. We talking big giant smallmouth. We talking not so big, but crazy plentiful largemouth. So that's a tournament where you'll have two things. You'll have guys that commit to the largemouth. They'll stay in Sandusky Bay. They'll fish the marinas. They'll fish all of the shorelines and backwaters, etc., and grass, frogging and flipping and chatterbaiting, these things. Catching largemouth. That will likely be 4 pounds and under, in my opinion. Then you'll have guys run out in the big water, and they'll maximize their scope periods for smallmouth, and they will catch some freaking studs, 4 or 5 pound smallmouth, big Lake Erie smallmouth. Probably have 25 pounds, best 5. And then throw in a few other solid 3 to 4 pounders. I mean, these guys are going to have weight. Then what do you do after the scope period? Do you stay out there and try to catch these smallmouth? Or do you run back in and try to maximize your 2 periods and catch largemouth? Now, we don't know. That's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very good tournament. Very high weight tournament. The largemouth in Sandusky Bay and in Lake Erie, and really all these Great Lakes, I've always said it, that's like a hidden gem. All the locals know about it, of course, but dude, the largemouth fishing on these Great Lakes, just people come from all over the world and they want to go catch this 5 pound smallmouth. I mean, so do I. But if you actually fish these backwaters and these shallows for largemouth, I'm talking 50, 60, 70 bites a day in some cases. You know, I mean, I've had some insane days on the Great Lakes, and this is one of them places where it can get nasty. So I think a lot of guys will commit to the largemouth and just try to run it up on numbers, but then you'll have a select few guys as well. And likely, I'll be honest, I'll probably be one of them guys who will split my time between largemouth and smallmouth, just because for every smallmouth you catch, I feel like that's 2, and in some cases 3 largemouth, depending on what a scoreable bass is. And I think it is 1.5 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, it just changes the game as far as that goes. But I think for you guys, the viewer, you've never seen us go out of Sandusky or us fish any of these Great Lakes and guys target largemouth like on purpose. Just because in a 5-fish format, what are you doing? You're just wasting your time, right? But in our format, I don't care what nobody say. Watching somebody frog some lily pads and drag a 3-pounder largemouth out of some pads is way cooler to watch visually than me out there, oh, there's one, and then I drop it, and 65 feet, it's still falling. It was a little deeper. And then you get a bite, like, it's just not gratifying visually. It makes you want to change the channel. And I get that. I'm the same way, and I love this game. I watch this stuff. I study it. I would much rather see somebody dob a big weight, line crying. Who don't want to see that? That's what bass fishing is. So I think from the viewer standpoint, a whole lot of that, what I just explained, versus a whole lot of this is going to be a better show for you all. But the cool thing is, just like Saginaw Bay, there's going to be a good little mixture. But I think it's going to be, if I had to pick, it's going to be heavy on the largemouth, in my opinion. Heavy on the green side. So that's what I'm thinking for Sandusky. That's a place I've never largemouth fished. Well, I have one time. I'm lying. When we had the FLW Super Tournament there, and I was too scared to run to Lake St. Clair. I chickened out on day one. The wind was blowing like 25. I said, boy, ain't no way. And so I bopped around and didn't catch much. And I had to go into one of the marinas. DC told me, he was like, hey, man, I caught something in this marina. And I had 0 fish. I said, he said, yeah, go in there, throw a chatterbait. I went in there and I caught some. Shout out DC for that. He threw me a little bone. I had like 9 pounds. I weighed him in. I was like 120th. I was like, what am I doing? Then I ran to St. Clair on day 2, longest run I ever made in my life, 2.5 hour one way. And my live scope wasn't working. It was the craziest thing ever happened to me. That's a side story, y'all. Sorry. My mind gets going like that when I think of these places. I ran 2.5 hours one way, and my live scope wasn't working, bro, when I got there. I caught 13 pounds. Imagine catching 13 pounds on Lake St. Clair. Yeah, I did that. And then I ran 2.5 hours back and weighed them in. But I did get a $10,000 check, which was crazy because they paid like 10 grand or like 100th. It was wild. And I finished like 97th. Gave me my money. I was happy. All right, which tournament am I most looking forward to? I'm gonna say it's tough. It's between O.H. Ivy and Brownwood and Whitney and Waco. One of them two. One of them two new ones. I'm really excited to go to some new places. So one of them two. Oh, which one gonna be? What tournament's gonna be the toughest? Gunnersville, Hartwell, Whitney, O.H. Ivy, Table Rock, Beaver Lake, Grand, and Erie. So obviously O.H. Ivy and the Waco, those four, I don't know because I haven't been to any of those. So I can only base this on past history and judgment. I'm going to say Grand Lake. Grand Lake of the Cherokees, that time of year. I've never fished Grand that time of year. So I think that potentially can be really tough for me. I was torn between that or Beaver. But by Beaver being during the spawn, I feel like you can just kind of go willy-nilly, you know, and get a bite here or there. But Grand in June, might be 100 degrees. They not on your favorite willow tree. Yeah, that might be treacherous. I'm going with Grand Lake. We do this for y'all, man. Y'all make sure y'all drop me some comments, man. Oh yeah, hey, and check out listen. Y'all wanna see something cozy? You see this seat that I'm in right here? This is a Yeti camp chair, base camp chair. I swear to you, I'm gonna be traveling with these. You talking about cozy with the cup holder right here? Literally, you could take a nap in this joint right here. Colin's sitting in one behind the camera. Tell him, Colin. Oh, yeah. Hey, look, I ain't trying to, look, no sales pitch. Obviously, I'm sponsored by Yeti. They make great products. But this joint right here, everybody talks about the coolers and the ramblers and the mugs and the bowls and the, you know, they got so many stuff. The go boxes, I got all the stuff, right? These right here, this him. So make sure y'all shout out Yeti. But look, thank y'all for watching per usual, man. I appreciate y'all. Please, please, please do me a favor. If you have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you like this video, man, drop me a thumbs up and a comment. And I appreciate that, fellas and ladies. And we out of here, man. We got some bass to catch.